Welcome and thanks for staying with us. We're watching WION The World is one. I'm Jyotsna Kumar. This is World DNA. Let's begin with the headlines. Israeli warplane strike Nabathi in South Lebanon as Israeli troops advance an area nearby, appearing to make as many gains as possible in case a U.S.-Iran deal is reached. President Donald Trump says a deal between U.S. and Iran to end the war in West Asia would be signed on Sunday, even as Iran cast doubt on timing. Thousands gather in Pakistan to pay tribute to Iran's late Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, who was assassinated in late February in U.S.-Israeli strikes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi gets a memorable welcome from the Indian diaspora as he arrives in France, kicking off a week-long European visit that will also see him participate in the G7 summit. European Union says it will resume membership talks with Ukraine on Monday as Hungary lifts veto imposed by its previous leader. U.S. President Trump's name removed from John F. Kennedy Center after a federal court last month ruled that its addition to the venue was unlawful and ordered its removal by 12th of June. Confirmed Ebola cases in DR Congo climbed to 710, 21 new cases reported in 24 hours. Death toll rises to 149. Anthropic says it would abruptly disable its most advanced AI models after the U.S. government ordered it to suspend access for all foreign nationals, citing national security concerns. The firm says it has received no specific details about the concerns behind the directive. Brazil-Morocco match ends in 1-1 as Ismail Saibari and Vinicius Jr. scores 1 goal each. Now, after months of war and diplomacy, the U.S. and Iran are inching closer to signing a peace deal. U.S. President Donald Trump says the deal will be signed today. In a lengthy post on X, Trump wrote that the deal is scheduled to be signed on Sunday and the Strait of Hormuz will be open to all as soon as the deal is inked. He also claimed that Iran has agreed not to pursue nuclear weapons, adding that U.S. forces will go to Iran at an appropriate time to seize and destroy the Iran stockpile of enriched uranium. However, Trump's timeline has been disputed by Iranian officials. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Bagheri has said that the date of signing was yet to be determined, but it will not be Sunday. Furthermore, Trump's claim that Iran has agreed not to pursue nuclear weapons contradicts Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi's statement on Saturday that said that both sides have agreed to discuss the nuclear issue in the second stage of the deal. Rakchi has also said that while the deal includes end of the U.S. naval blockade and the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, Iran will continue to exercise some form of control over the strait. He even suggested a service fee instead of a toll for ships transiting through the strait. Meanwhile, dozens protested outside of Foreign Ministry's office in Iran's northeastern city of Mashhad. The protesters chanted slogans against Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. The potential deal has also ruffled feathers in Israel. Opposition leader Yair Lapid has accused Prime Minister Netanyahu of total failure. Lapid slammed the deal, saying that it does not achieve any of Israel's war goals as the Iranian regime, its missile and nuclear program are still intact. Now, 3 Indian sailors were killed in an American strike. The U.S. military admitted to hitting the boat off the coast of Oman. The attack took place on 9th of June. New Delhi strongly condemned the attack. The U.S. Chargé d'Affaires was summoned twice. Now, the Indian Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar, after speaking to his American counterpart, said, and I'm quoting, India's strong protest at the attacks by the U.S. Navy in the Gulf that killed 3 Indian mariners. Such lethal actions against commercial shipping are not justified. But U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio refused to admit the killing of the Indian nationals, let alone showing any remorse. Instead, his statement carried a warning. The statement from Rubio's office said, and I'm quoting right here, the 2 officials discussed recent events in the Strait of Hormuz. The secretary stressed that all commercial vessels should immediately comply with orders from U.S. forces as they seek to uphold peace and security in the strait. Now, he underscored that violations of the U.S. blockade and the illicit transport of Iranian oil will not be tolerated. Now, clearly, Washington and New Delhi are not on the same page. While the U.S. State Department readout of the Rubio-Jaishankar call focused on the need for commercial vessels to comply with American orders, Jaishankar stressed on the unjustified lethal actions against commercial vessels. Now, separately, U.S. President Donald Trump has accused Iran of drone attacks against Indian ships transiting the Strait of Hormuz. However, Trump did not specify which vessels were attacked. Now, there is fury in India. The families of the sailors who were killed are seeking justice. At least 3 commercial ships with Indian crew members have been attacked by U.S. forces in West Asia region since 8th of June. The MT Sedbelo was transiting the Sea of Oman, laden with Iranian oil, when a U.S. aircraft fired precision munitions into its engine room, causing a fire, sending smoke billowing into the air and sparking a large rescue operation. The 3 men were found dead following the attack on the Palau-flagged vessel. The U.S. military says that the attack came after the crew repeatedly failed to comply with instructions from American forces enforcing the blockade. Now, Tehran, reacting to the death of the Indian sailors, called the incident armed robbery and state piracy. Clearly, after tariffs, this issue has now emerged as a big point of friction between India and the U.S. And the timing is particularly delicate. Coming days before Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to meet U.S. President Donald Trump on the sidelines of the G7 summit in France next week. The White House announced that the 2 leaders would be holding a bilateral meeting. Some tough questions are likely to be raised. Now, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has arrived in France, marking the beginning of his official visit to the country. The 6-day visit focuses on deepening ties between the 2 nations, just months after their bilateral relationship was elevated to a special global strategic partnership. And upon his arrival in Nice, PM Modi was received by several French and Indian dignitaries. He also received a warm welcome from the Indian diaspora, who greeted the Indian Prime Minister with patriotic chants and cultural performances, showcasing classical dance forms including Kathak, Odissi, and Bharatanatyam. Nice is the first stop of Prime Minister Modi's 2-nation visit. President Macron and PM Modi will also inaugurate the Bharat Innovates event, part of India-France Year of Innovation. The gathering is expected to draw over 120 Indian startups alongside French and international business leaders. Now, Prime Minister Modi will then head to WION to participate in the G7 summit on 16th and 17th of June. He is scheduled to hold bilateral talks with French President Emmanuel Macron and participate in a series of engagements aimed at strengthening India-France ties. PM Modi is also expected to meet U.S. President Donald Trump on the sidelines of the G7 summit. Now, the talks will also take place against a backdrop of growing tensions over the Iran war, which has had significant economic repercussions for India. Relations come under further pressure following recent U.S. attacks on oil tankers off the coast of Oman. According to White House, both leaders will hold bilateral talks on the sidelines of the summit. The meeting will mark the first face-to-face interaction between both leaders since February 2025, when PM Modi visited President Trump following his victory in the November 2024 U.S. presidential election. Now, India has been invited as a partner country by France, which holds the 2026 G7 presidency. And this will be India's 13th participation at the G7 summit. And to give us more details on this, our assistant editor for Foreign Affairs, Dhan Sibel, has sent us this report from France.
The stage is set for the G7 summit here in France, and the world leaders, of course, will be descending in France for the big summit happening in the shadow of the conflict in West Asia, and of course, a possibility of an Iran deal. Now, we know that on the sidelines of the G7 meeting, there will be meetings with the invited West Asian leaders, leaders from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and US President Donald Trump's action will be, of course, closely watched. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has also been invited. He has been regularly invited at the G7 summit since 2019, and he, of course, will be focusing on the impact on the global south from the conflicts both in Europe and in West Asia. But on the sidelines, there will be opportunities for meetings, including with the US President Donald Trump at a time when India-US relationship haven't been doing very well, especially with the killing of 3 Indian sailors of the coast of Oman by the US military. We know that India had strongly raised the matter with the American side and summoned the CDA, the US CDA twice. But it looks like this development is going to cast a long shadow on the relationship. So, responsible for WION in France.
The arrival of the world's first trillionaire marks a historic moment for global economy. Elon Musk's fortune has surged past $1 trillion mark, but the milestone is also fueling a broader debate over inequality, taxation, and the concentration of wealth in the hands of a few. Now, here's the story behind the $1 trillion era. Take a look. Elon Musk becoming the world's first trillionaire is more than a personal wealth milestone. It marks a new chapter in the global economy, where tech entrepreneurs are accumulating wealth on an unprecedented scale. Musk's fortune, estimated at more than $1.1 trillion, has been driven primarily by his holdings in SpaceX and Tesla. In 2012, Musk first appeared on global rich lists with an estimated fortune of around $2 billion. 14 years later, that figure has grown more than 500-fold. The $1 trillion milestone has renewed debate about wealth concentration. Unlike traditional income, much of Musk's fortune exists in the form of a company ownership and stock options. His SpaceX holdings alone are worth billions of dollars following the company's public listing. Economists have long warned that gains from financial markets and high-growth tech companies tend to accrue disproportionately to founders, early investors, and major shareholders. As a result, wealth at the very top has grown significantly faster than wages and household incomes in many economies. The emergence of a trillionaire has become a symbol of both the opportunities and the imbalance created by modern capitalism. $1 trillion is a figure so large that it is difficult to comprehend. It exceeds the annual economic output of many countries and is larger than the market value of some of the world's biggest corporations. Critics argue that extreme levels of wealth can translate into outsized influence over markets, media, politics, and emerging technologies. The debate extends to taxation. Policymakers in several countries have explored wealth taxes, higher capital gains taxes, and other measures aimed at addressing widening wealth gaps. However, taxing billionaire wealth remains complex because much of it is held in a company's shares rather than cash. With analysts already speculating about who could become the next trillionaire, Musk's milestone may not be the end of the story. Instead, it could mark the beginning of an era where trillion-dollar fortunes become a reality, and where questions about wealth distribution become even more prominent. Business Bureau Report, WION World is One. Now, Qatar snatched a late equalizer that forced a 1-1 draw against Switzerland in their opening Group B fixture of the FIFA World Cup 2026 in San Francisco. This as the West Asian nation secured their first point in the FIFA World Cup. Now, during the first half, Switzerland dominated the proceedings by attempting multiple shots on goal. Later, the European nation broke the deadlock in the 17th minute following a penalty kick by Switzerland's forward Brirembolo. The penalty scored after Qatari goalkeeper Mahmoud Abnada fouled Swiss left-back Mira Muheim. The first half ended with Switzerland leading 1-0. Later in the second half, Switzerland pressed on for another goal but were unable to convert any of their chances. The European nation made 26 attempts on goal as against Qatar's 7. However, Qatar salvaged a draw during the dying minutes of the second half following an own goal from Switzerland. Qatari captain Bolem Kouki attempted a header in the 94th minute, which deflected off Swiss left-back Miro Muheim. The ball later ended up in the back of the net, resulting in an own goal. The late blow shocked Switzerland as they failed to close out the match despite securing an early lead. The result has left Group B wide open, with all teams locked on a point each, following co-host Canada's draw with Bosnia and Herzegovina at 1-0. This is only the second time that Qatar is participating in a FIFA World Cup. Back in 2022, Qatar made their debut in the tournament as the hosts. And back then, the West Asian nation was eliminated in the group stage without a win or a draw. Well, Qatar will next play co-host Canada in Vancouver, while Switzerland would play Bosnia and Herzegovina in Los Angeles. The team behind Your Fault, London, came together in London for a UK premiere of a highly anticipated romantic drama sequel. The film reunites Asha Banks and Matthew Broome as Noah and Nick, continuing the story that began with My Fault, London. In the sequel, Noah begins a new chapter at Oxford University while Nick takes on a bigger role in his father's business. But as new temptations, secrets, and betrayals emerge, the couple finds their relationship pushed to the limit.
Oh, emotional. Yeah, I was very sad. I cried on Matt's rap day because I had a couple days left and I was like suddenly like, oh my God, wait, what? This is such a big thing in my life and it's coming to an end. It's very surreal.
Banks and Broome said stepping back into Noah and Nick's world felt easy thanks to the strong friendship they built while filming the first movie, Your Fault, London. It is the second film in the screen adaptation of Mercedes Ron's best-selling Culpables trilogy, with the third and final chapter filmed back-to-back. Saying goodbye to the franchise proved emotional for the cast, who had spent years bringing the story to life. Your Fault, London premieres globally on 17th of June. All right, that's all in this bulletin. We leave you with some images that have been making a lot of impact from across the world. Thanks for joining us. Now, just a reminder to our viewers in India that you can watch all 2026 FIFA World Cup matches on Z5. Tune in and catch all the action live.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Iran and Ukraine loom over G7, as France looks to rekindle the original spirit of G7. Future looks increasingly uncertain for the international order. International economy becoming a space for confrontation. Can the summit bridge the divide between the Allies and Trump? Will this G7 be a defining moment for the middle powers?
Outrage in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, the region is rocked by anti-government protests. At the same time, Pakistan carries out deadly airstrikes in Afghanistan. Did Islamabad carry out fresh bombings to divert attention from dissent in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir? Also on the show, fire traps elderly and disabled patients at Sri Lanka's nursing home. All this and much more with me, Kripa, on Inside South Asia.
Get the latest updates. Breaking news. Credible, clear, continuous. Experts across aisles. Diverse voices, one platform. WION World is one.
An algorithm is just like a recipe, except that you don't know the ingredients. Apple has flipped the narrative at WWDC. AI isn't the hero, it's all about privacy and security. Analog cameras are back in vogue, and robots need a helping hand. All these stories and more coming up on Check It Out this week at these times.
The Israeli drone is above our heads all the time in Lebanon. Around 169 buildings have been totally reduced to rubble. Every time there's a warning, they just come to this public area where there are around 200 tents, and they reside for a while, and then they go back to their home. Some of the Lebanese people enjoying their time, celebrating, singing, dancing, and some others forcibly displaced. From the southern suburb of Beirut, I'm Radi Francis for WION World is One.
On Wings this week, we cover mountain festivals across Kashmir and Ladakh. And the recent breakthrough at the Zojila Tunnel, which will connect Kashmir to Ladakh. We also feature the impressive masterpiece Sagrada Familia in Barcelona and how Pope Leo officially inaugurated the top tower. Only on WION World is One. Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Prime is your front row seat to darkness.
Modi and Trump face to face at G7. The famous personal chemistry will be on test.
You're smart.
The red lines and trade reset will be under scrutiny. The high-stakes meet at G7. Watch the body language, the breakthroughs, as the world's two most powerful leaders meet.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION. World is One.
It's turned out to be the most successful World Cup from the standpoint of what's happening.
The FIFA World Cup is being co-hosted by the United States, Canada, and Mexico and kicks off on June 11th. For the first time in history, the tournament expands to 48 teams, playing a record 104 matches.
Get all the updates from the 2026 FIFA World Cup only on WION.
WION, India's global voice. The channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is One.
Welcome back. You're watching World DNA. I'm Samiksha Srivastava. Here's a look at the headlines you're tracking this hour. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu calls security meet as US President Donald Trump announces US and Iran will sign a peace deal on Sunday. Israeli warplanes strike Nabatea in South Lebanon as Israeli troops advance in an area nearby, appearing to make as many gains as possible in case a US-Iran deal is reached. Thousands gather in Pakistan to pay tributes to Iran's late supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, who was assassinated in late February in US-Israel strike. Prime Minister Narendra Modi gets a memorable welcome from the Indian diaspora as he arrives in France, kicking off a week-long European visit that will also see him participate in the G7 summit. European Union says it will resume membership talks with Ukraine on Monday as Hungary lifts veto imposed by its previous leader. Confirmed Ebola cases in Democratic Republic of Congo climb to 710. 21 new cases reported in last 24 hours. Death toll now rises to 149. The UK and Japan are set to sign a $24 billion clean energy investment agreement, deepening cooperation on renewable power, grid infrastructure and low-carbon technologies as both countries seek to strengthen energy security and accelerate decarbonization efforts. Brazil-Morocco match ends 1-1 as Ismail Saibari and Vinicius Jr. score one goal each. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has arrived in France, marking the beginning of his official visit to the country. The six-day visit focuses on deepening ties between the two nations just months after their bilateral relationship was elevated to a special global strategic partnership. Upon his arrival in Nice, Prime Minister Modi was received by several French and Indian dignitaries. He also received a warm welcome from the Indian diaspora, who greeted the Prime Minister with patriotic chants and cultural performances showcasing classical Indian dance forms, including Kathak, Odissi and Bharatnatyam. Nice is the first stop of Prime Minister Modi's two-nation visit. President Macron and Prime Minister Modi will also inaugurate the Bharat Innovates event, part of India-France Year of Innovation. The gathering is expected to draw over 120 Indian startups alongside French and international business leaders. Prime Minister Modi will then head to Evian to participate in the G7 summit that is to take place on 16th and 17th of June. Prime Minister is even scheduled to hold bilateral talks with French President Emmanuel Macron and participate in a series of engagements aimed at strengthening India-France ties. Prime Minister Modi is also expected to meet President Donald Trump on the sidelines of the G7 summit. The talks will also take place against the backdrop of growing tensions over the Iran war, which has had significant economic repercussions for India, with relations that have also now come under pressure following recent US attacks on oil tankers off the coast of Oman. According to White House, both leaders will hold bilateral talks on the sidelines of the G7 summit. In fact, this meeting will mark the first face-to-face interaction between Prime Minister Modi and President Trump since February of last year, and that is when Prime Minister Modi had visited Trump following his victory in the November 2024 US presidential election. India has been invited as a partner country by France, which holds the 2026 G7 presidency. Notably, this will be India's 13th participation at the G7 summit. And getting us the latest on Prime Minister Modi's European visit to Europe is our Assistant Editor for Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibbal, who has sent us this ground report.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in France and he begins his France visit from Nice. Now, Nice in southern France will see focus on innovation, but the big bilateral between Prime Minister Modi and the French President also takes place in this very city. Now, we know that both countries have special global comprehensive partnership, which has been much celebrated with focus on defense, space, and also people-to-people relationship, as France is keen to get more Indian students to study here in France in French universities. All in all, when it comes to this relationship, both sides have been heavily invested on since many years. And this visit of the Prime Minister also sees him going to Slovakia, the first ever visit of an Indian Prime Minister to that country since the independence of that country. So, Sudhansibal for WION in France.
A diplomatic breakthrough may be unfolding after months of devastating warfare in West Asia. Pakistan claims a US-Iran deal could be reached within 24 hours, but a major standoff still remains over Iran's enriched uranium, which President Trump has vowed to secure. In fact, reports suggest that Iran has taken measures around key nuclear sites that could make any ground operation extremely difficult.
For weeks, the world feared the next strike. Now it is watching for the next handshake. A 6-week war turned the region into a raging battlefield. US and Israeli strikes hit Iranian targets, including key military and nuclear-linked facilities. Iran responded with a furious wave of retaliation, targeting us and allied positions and pushing the conflict towards a dangerous regional confrontation. After the escalation came a fragile pause. A ceasefire has held for more than 60 days, but the biggest issues remain unresolved. Now, Pakistan says a breakthrough could come soon, raising hopes of a diplomatic exit from the crisis. Tehran isn't so sure, pointing at differences.
Naturally, because it has not yet, so to speak, been signed, and until the very last moment, things may still go up and down, so I would prefer that when it is finished.
But behind the negotiations is a major challenge. U.S. President Donald Trump has repeatedly demanded access to Iran's enriched uranium stockpile, vowing to send troops and take it by force.
And somebody said, how are we going to get the nuclear dust? We're going to get it by going in with Iran, with lots of excavators.
They've agreed to give us back the nuclear dust that's way underground because of the attack we made with the B-2 bombers. We want to see peace in the Middle East. We want the nuclear dust. We're going to want that. And I think we're going to get that. We've agreed to that.
The Trump administration considered sending U.S. troops into Iran to seize nuclear material, but a ground operation risked a bloody confrontation. Iran's battle-hardened forces could have caused heavy U.S. casualties, a risk Trump appears unwilling to take ahead of the midterm elections. Now, such a commando operation would be even more tougher. Reports suggest Iran may have taken steps to protect its most sensitive nuclear assets, including sealing facilities, collapsing tunnels, and placing possible explosives or traps around key locations. That creates a difficult calculation for the U.S. A ground operation to reach hidden facilities could risk a new military confrontation after months